Good evening, Barons. Welcome to this Franciscan Beat news brief. I'm Thomas Manley. Among our top headlines is a developing story in St. Louis. A gunman broke into a St. Louis high school this morning, fatally shooting a woman and a teenage girl and injuring 6 others before police killed him. The shooting, just after 9 a.m. at Central Visual and Performing Arts High School, forced students to either shelter in place or evacuate the building. One terrorized girl said she was eye to eye with the shooter before his gun apparently jammed, and she was able to run out. Speaking at a news conference, Police Commissioner Michael Sack said the shooter was about 20 years old, but did not provide a name for him or his victims. A teenager has pled guilty to terrorism, first-degree murder, and other charges in a Michigan school shooting. 4 students were killed and 7 people wounded when Ethan Crumbly opened fire nearly a year ago at Oxford High School. School administrators had discovered his violent drawings and dangerous messages, but could not get his parents to take action against his worrying behavior. Later that day, he pulled his new Sig Sauer pistol, purchased for him by his parents, out of his backpack and opened fire. The teenager may be called to testify against his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbly, who are charged with involuntary manslaughter, making the gun accessible, ignoring his mental health needs, and fleeing arrest. Former Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, has won the race to be the leader of the Conservative Party and will become Britain's next Prime Minister. The former Treasury chief faces the task of stabilizing the party and the country at a time of economic and political turbulence. His only rival, Penny Mordaunt, conceded and withdrew at the last minute before the nominations window ended at 2 p.m. British Daylight Time. As leader of the governing party, Sunak will take over as Prime Minister from Liz Truss, who quit last week after 45 tumultuous days in office, leaving a staggering economy and a shell-shocked and divided party. Sunak is expected to be asked to form a government by King Charles III tomorrow. Sunak will become the 3rd British Prime Minister in 7 weeks. He will also be the first British Asian and the youngest MP to hold the office since the early 19th century. Sunak was elected to the role so quickly because his only competitors, Penny Mordaunt and former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, both dropped out of the race. If either candidate had stayed in the race and had enough support from their fellow MPs, the Conservative Party would be holding a vote this week to decide on which candidate would lead both the party and the country. But since he is the only candidate, no such vote will occur. The opposition Labour Party, backed by the Scottish Nationalists and the Liberal Democratic parties, continues to call for a general election, meaning that the decision would lie in the hands of the people instead of the government. The next general election is slated to take place in 2025. A trial to determine whether Georgia can continue to ban abortion as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy is set to begin in an Atlanta courtroom. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney has scheduled 2 days of testimony starting Monday in a lawsuit that seeks to strike down the law. The lawsuit by doctors and advocacy groups argues the law violates the Georgia Constitution's right to privacy and liberty by, quote, forcing pregnancy and childbirth upon countless Georgians. The state attorney general's office responded in a court filing that Georgia's privacy protections do not extend to abortion because it impacts another human life. New national test results show that the pandemic spared no part of the country as it caused historic learning setbacks for America's children. Every single state saw math or reading scores decline in the latest results from the National Assessment of Educational Process. National math scores saw their largest decreases ever, and reading scores fell back to 1992 levels. This year was the first time the test was given since 2019, and it's seen as the first nationally representative study of the pandemic's impact on learning. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona called the results unacceptable, saying schools must redouble efforts to help students recover. With Election Day fast approaching, President Joe Biden is hoping to counter Republican momentum by trying to be everything to everyone. But that makes it hard for him to say he's focused on any single issue above others, as he tries to appeal to a diverse Democratic base. Biden says he's tackling, quote, multiple issues, and they're all important. The coalition of Democratic voters that he needs to turn out on November 8th is diverse in terms of race, age, education, and geography. This pool of voters has an expansive list of overlapping and competing interests on crime, civil rights, climate change, the federal budget, and more. Before we go, let's take a look at our local weather forecast. Currently, it is 73 and sunny on campus with a light 3-mile-an-hour breeze, moving south-southeast. Temperatures will drop as low as 46 tonight, and tomorrow we will see mostly cloudy skies with another high of 73 in the mid-afternoon. We want to thank you for tuning in once again to Franciscan Beat. As always, I'm your host, Thomas Pear Manley. Good night, and God bless.